Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of Walter's World, the podcast series from Astadia. My name is Walter Sweat. I'm the CTO here at Astadia, and I appreciate y'all joining us once again. Um, as those of you who have attended some of these before, you know that Astadia has been the industry's largest, fastest growing independent software led services company, helping people move from the mainframe. We actually have just had a change. We were just recently acquired by Amdocs. And why I think that's important and why we wanted to have this session today is that to date, all of our podcast episodes have been about how do you get off of the mainframe? What are the things that you have to think about? But the things that we haven't been able to talk about really are once you're off the mainframe, what's the art of the possible? What are the things that might be important to you? So today I'm delighted to have Mark Reef, who's the Service Partner for Financial Services Leader for Amdocs, join us. Mark has been in this industry for a long time and knows the way that Amdocs has been able to help customers after mainframe migration. And I'm looking forward to him being able to share his thoughts and experiences with us today. Mark, thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
My pleasure, Walter. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir. Mark, for those members of our audience who haven't had a chance to meet you yet, can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure, I'd be happy to. As you said, my name is Mark Reef. I've been with Amdocs. This is year 25. I'll be celebrating 25 years with Amdocs in October. I started my journey in Amdocs back in Israel as a testing specialist. I slowly moved up the ranks. I moved to the U.S. to the great state of Texas in 2001, and served at Amdocs at SBMS at the time, which transformed into Singular, transformed into AT&T. 20 years later, I moved out of the telco space into financial services. We established the financial services division. And I lead the service delivery for the financial services division across the Americas.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mark. And that's a beautiful office you're in, by the way. I really enjoyed getting to come visit you not too long ago. Mark, we talked about Amdocs. Obviously, something of interest for our audience is who is Amdocs? What exactly does Amdocs do?
Amdocs is a large company that does multiple things. Predominantly, Amdocs is a software and services provider in the telco and media domain. But like I said, we are growing our portfolio and we're now in the financial services domain. And Amdocs has multiple different layers of services across our portfolio, from, like I said, the product development and delivery, managed services, cloud implementation and support, customer experience, design and implementation, and testing, and a large multitude of additional SI services capabilities that we have.
Great. I know Amdocs has grown significantly, sometimes through acquisition. With this acquisition of Astadia, how is that integration going from your perspective? How is it managed? What is your involvement in it?
Astadia's acquisition is pretty recent. The integration is an ongoing process. We've had the pleasure of meeting you and your great team, and finding the value adds that we can add as Amdocs to the Astadia deliverables. We think that it's a great, we have a great complementary offering to add on top of what Astadia does, that can bring a lot of value to our customers, regardless if they take just one piece of our offering or the whole package. We have built what we believe is a winning solution for our customers with a library of services that they can pick from. Our customers get to look at the offering, compare it to to others, and then see that in a one-stop shop they will get more value, more bang for their buck if they just go with one provider rather than splitting it between multiple different vendors.
I think that's a great point, Mark. I'd mentioned before that one of the things that we at Astadia were excited about this new relationship with Amdocs is that being able to provide customers more options, we think is critical. And to recognize that a move from the mainframe is one step toward where they want to be. It isn't the final step. So being able to help companies who are now approaching a mainframe migration understand all of the different things that can be done, whether it's Astadia, Amdocs, or anyone in the industry, where companies can rely on people who take them from beginning to end all the way through is really, really exciting. And that's why, for myself, I'm so excited to be a part of Amdocs now. To that point, Mark, um, we talk about digital engineering and the things that people can do um, in ways that perhaps they haven't been able to do for 40 years prior to that. What are some of the things that you feel organizations should be on the lookout for in ways to take advantage of digital engineering where they're not just doing things the same way they've always done them before?
Well, I think, as you said, being on mainframe prohibits you from certain things that you can achieve. Whereas in the modern world of microservices and decomposing your code and opening it up in APIs allows you a lot more flexibility with the software that you actually produce once you've got off of mainframe. When you decompose into microservices, you can add functionality easily. You can open up APIs and integrate with other applications and other systems that may have been more difficult for you while you were on the mainframe. Now your data is more accessible. So you can now offer your data to other units in the company or even externally. You can build, you can expand the offering to your customers by having by having better accessibility to your data, analyzing your data, and then providing recommendations to your customer based on this data that was once hidden away in the DB2 database with very limited access. If you want to reduce costs, move to the cloud, there's multiple different things that you can do post the migration with digital engineering and just the modern technologies that we have today.
I'm so glad that you mentioned data. I'll tell you just my opinion. The freeing of data, being able to get to the new environments where you can work with data in ways that you couldn't before. Something as simple as moving non-relational data to relational, taking old VSAM and moving it to a relational model. Is that something that you have seen within Amdocs for your large customers who started to make that migration, that they are actually able to work with their data in different ways than they have before and really see the positive impact of that?
Definitely. We see that customers that have moved their data into modern data lakes or data stores gives them more flexibility to expand their offering, to see what their customer pain points are and how to address them in a better way. And I think we'll also touch about how Gen AI fits into this as well, because it also has a significant play on the data, right? When the data is locked away, then Gen AI is harder to implement. It's harder to help you. But we'll talk about that a little bit later in our discussion.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Mark, I know that Astadia had a managed services presence, as does Amdocs. One of the things that I've always felt, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it, if an organization today has someone else running their mainframe and they look to move from the mainframe, obviously they have to be aware and make sure that they find someone who can recognize the environment and support it. Is it an advantage if people who are doing this migration assistance also have the ability then to run that environment for these companies moving forward?
Without a doubt. I think that it's very beneficial when we do the migration, we learn the application, the ins and outs, the issues that the application may have. We understand the new environment that it's going to run on so that we can set up the right parameters to monitor and alert on the system. And so it goes hand, as the learning process is advancing and as we're going through the migration, we learn more about the application. And then we are able to address issues that may come up in the post-migration, in the support, much faster than somebody that wasn't part of this process has to go back and look at run books or other historical data to try and figure out. And there isn't much history because it's now running on a new platform. So when you're doing the migration, you have the ability to look at all of these steps as you're running the process. You can pre-identify what may become issues in the new production environment and address them in advance. Something that if you just turn this over to another third party, they would struggle significantly in that part of the process.
I absolutely agree with that. Mark, you mentioned something earlier and it triggered a thought for me. You mentioned taking these monolithic applications that have been running the same way for 20, 30, 40 years, and converting them to microservices or whatever the environment is that makes the most sense for customers moving forward. Is that something that's actually viable? And, is it a goal that companies should look for, not to just be able to save money by perhaps moving off the mainframe, but to really alter the way that they work with their applications and data?
Listen, it would definitely vary from customer to customer, but to me, these old monolithic large systems are very inefficient. Their code was written a long time ago by people that were very talented at the time, but technology has advanced and coding has advanced, and you want to utilize resources more efficiently. And there's a lot of pieces of code that you don't need anymore in these monoliths that you're wasting resources on for no real reason. When you break it down and you break it into microservices or you containerize it, you can take out a lot of the inefficiencies in the code. And so advancing it and breaking it down is, in many cases, it's very beneficial from a performance perspective and also financially, especially if you're going to the cloud. If you can take out pieces that you don't need anymore, then you'll save cloud resources. You will end up paying less.
Which is obviously a very important thought for someone to have.
Yes.
I often use the phrase that the mainframe, as wonderful as it is, it's a complicated beast. There's so much more that goes into successfully running a mainframe and letting it give you the benefits that you want than just the code and the data. Things like security. I'm curious about your thoughts, Mark, on the way people have security set on the mainframe when they obviously need to match that, whether it's from an application point of view or from a systems point of view. But do they have the ability to extend what they're doing in security on the mainframe in their new landing zone security environment? Are there things that they can take advantage of to open up the way that they look at security?
I think that security on the mainframe, is pretty good. I think that in today's world, there are more and more elements of security that are being added during the coding process and then during the implementation process, and also in runtime. Obviously, when you're running on the cloud, there's a lot more concern for your data and your code security. But I think that all of the large providers provide a lot of tools to improve the security of the applications and the data. So there's in all other elements that we've discussed, there's a lot of advancement in technology, and it's continuing to grow and continuing to evolve to where there's always room to progress and improve the security and the other elements of the application. I think that in the migration of the code to microservices and to containerization on the cloud, security is in a CI. Especially if we move to a DevSecOps model, security is part of the development process. We do the scanning at build time, run time. So there's always elements of security that we're adding and improve the process. So we take care of vulnerabilities before they get pushed to production.
I love that you mentioned the availability of just in the industry, whether it's the cloud providers, the tools that exist are so much more advanced, in my opinion, today. Whether it's RACF or Top Secret or ACF2, I've seen people do some very creative things with those on the mainframe and really maximize the capability of what they do. The challenge to me has been those people retire, and oftentimes there's no one left who understands how to adjust that moving forward, leveraging the security capabilities of the cloud providers in more standard ways, where that capability just exists and it's generally well known and it's available and it's extensible. That's something to me that I think everyone who's considering alternatives to the mainframe can look at as perhaps a real benefit for themselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Again, that everything is accessible these days. Everything is almost self-explanatory. A lot of these things are automated. A lot of these, have self-learning to a certain degree where they can identify your code, they can read your code, find the areas of weakness, and recommend what you need to be corrected. And you don't need to have a mainframe, developer or a COBOL developer or a DB2 expert to fix those vulnerabilities anymore, because you're on new technology, and so you can take a Java developer or C#, whatever it may be, and just address those vulnerabilities. And then you can rescan, and if you're not sure, you can rescan again. It's so much more accessible today, to where you shouldn't be in a position where you're taking risks before you deploy code to production.
Exactly, absolutely. I'd like to go back to something that you mentioned earlier, and you said we would come back to it. You knew this was going to come up because it's one of the hottest topics we talk about often, and that's about AI. What's your opinion about Amdocs' thought about AI and what it really can mean for organizations?
Well, like you said, Gen AI is the hottest topic in the industry these days. Every company is coming out with their version of Gen AI and how it can be used in the industry. Amdocs has come out with a platform of its own. It's named Amaze, a Gen AI platform that is mostly running on open source technology in partnership with Microsoft. And we have a lot of predefined use cases that can benefit our customers. Like I said, predominantly in the telco space, the initial use cases, but we are developing use cases for other industries. And this is something that Amdocs is investing a lot in to ensure that we are at the forefront of technology and that our customers get the best benefit of what it is that we have to offer in this space.
I think we are at the tip of the iceberg in terms of all that Gen AI can do in this space. It's one of the most exciting topics that I've seen come along in, gosh, forever. So it's going to truly be interesting to see all that can be leveraged there.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is just the beginning, and by the time that we retire, you're a little younger than me, but when we both retire, you know, I'm not sure that there'll be a lot of need for a lot of developers, with hands-on, right? It may be, technology is going to go, far beyond where we are today. And, the sky's the limit. We'll just have to wait and see. But it is definitely going to be an interesting ride.
It absolutely will be. I'm looking forward to it, as I know you are. Talking about Gen AI, one of the areas that I personally am really excited about in terms of Gen AI is testing, because I'm a big proponent in that there's no such thing as testing too much. Adequate testing to ensure that you know things work the way that they need to, that they perform the way that they need to, is critical, I feel. And I think that Gen AI has a great deal of opportunity to assist, not just us together, but this industry in that arena. I'm curious to know, Mark, do you think that the testing plan that people put in place, if they're doing a migration, uh, are those the kinds of things that when they go to the cloud world, can they can they expect to continue to leverage that transition so that testing becomes a part of the automated process? Can that work moving forward? So when they're off the mainframe, they're in a containerized environment with this non-monolithic application, can in fact they still leverage some of the testing work that they put in during that conversion process?
Not only can they have to. It's mandatory, right? Testing is the key in ensuring security in production, right? Not just security from a security perspective, but the safety of our code in production, the fact that it will run smooth and endlessly, right? So the automation piece that we implement during the migration has to be embedded into the DevSecOps process that we implement as we onboard these modernized applications onto a DevSecOps pipeline, and we integrate automated testing for performance, stability, and the code itself throughout the process. It is something that it can't be skipped, and anybody that thinks that investing less in testing is a good idea, they'll pay for it in production. So the more you invest up front in testing and automation will help you later on as you progress with the lifecycle modernization of this application.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I had mentioned earlier that we, Astadia, when we were alone, we like to think that we really helped our customers get to the point of moving off the mainframe, but we kind of stopped there. We weren't able to help them with topics like analytics and machine learning and all of the other things that go along with what you can do afterwards, what I keep calling the art of the possible. But I know Amdocs has had the experience of doing migrations and being able to do all those other things as well. I'm curious for your perspective on, should companies be looking at having one company, one organization that does that all the way through, or does the classic model of using a particular tool set, but having a different integrator, work with that? One time you use this integrator, the next time you use another integrator, the third time you use a third integrator even. Does it make sense? Is there benefit in having one company drive that entire process for someone?
Well, I can give you multiple different answers on this one. I'll give you the politically correct and the one that the company would like me to provide, which is definitely working with one vendor is the right solution. And there's multiple different reasons for it. It's first of all and foremost is accountability. When you work with one vendor from start to finish, then you have one throat to choke. You have you know who you're working with. You know that this person is responsible. This company or entity is responsible to deliver your outcome from beginning to end. They will drive the program, they will monitor it, they will govern it, and you'll have SLAs with them, and you don't have to deal with multiple different integrators. If you bring in additional integrators into the picture, now you start to split accountability and responsibility. And now you have to figure out where the fault is. If there's an issue between the two, now you need somebody to arbitrate between the two. It starts to make things more complicated. If you add a third, good luck. It's to a point where when you work with a single vendor that has the expertise of delivering complex integrated programs from end to end with a very high success rate, you have somebody to trust, a company that stands behind its delivery and does deliver on time and on budget. So that's the correct answer. It sometimes would make sense for adding another integrator if there were a specific niche need that said prime vendor cannot provide. Then definitely you can bring in a partner. Still, the accountability should reside with the prime, and they will ensure that the partner that they bring in delivers on the promises that were made during the negotiations.
Perfect.
That makes sense.
It absolutely does. Mark, I'd like to ask this question, not from the perspective of Amdocs, but in general, when you would think to talk to a client, what recommendations would you give them to look for about what kind of commitment a company offers to deliver? And how should a company demand that there's a successful application of the project milestones? What are the things that they should actually be looking for there?
That's a great question, and again, it would differ from engagement to engagement. But I would like, if you were asking me to go out and look for a company to partner with, I would say I'd like to see skin in the game. What are you giving? What are you giving back to me to ensure that you will deliver on your promises, right? How am I gonna? We're in this project together. It's not you and I. It's not two separate entities. It's now one entity with one goal of delivering outcome. So what are those KPIs going to look like? How are you going to be measured against them? And what are the incentives? I won't call it penalties, but what are the incentives for you to actually deliver on time? Right. Those are the elements that I would go and look for, and having skin in the game. Showing that if there are incidents where we fall behind, how are we going to make up for that lost time? How are we going to, because we still want to finish the program on time, regardless of how far behind we fall. So how are you going to make it up to me, right? What is it without compromising quality? That's a key, right? If you're going to make something up, you have to make it up and still stand behind the quality measurements that we agree on. So those would be the main things that I would look at if you ask me to engage somebody on a delivery program.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Mark, it looks like we have unfortunately reached the end of our time. I wanted to thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy day. As I said before, I'm so excited to be a part of Amdocs now, and the fact that we can hopefully help our customers do more than we could help them do before. I'm really looking forward to the chance to get to work with you for a long time and see what we can do to make real progress in this space.
Walter, it was my pleasure, and like you said, I'm also looking forward to this. I believe that this is a great combination of two great companies, which will provide a lot of value to our customers moving forward, and we will show them what it is to make things amazing.
Great way to say it. Thank you so much. And to the audience, thank you for joining us. We at Astadia, an Amdocs company, continue to really enjoy providing these podcasts, and I hope you will join us again in the future for the next one. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your day.